Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on how to navigate benefits and housing here in Colorado. Losing a job or being in a difficult financial situation can bring on feelings of anxiety and stress, and trying to learn how to apply for benefits and assistance can be somewhat confusing. And so as the community's mental health center, we're not only here to support your mental health, but we're also here to help provide you with help as you learn about and apply for benefits. And so this webinar today, we're going to be focusing specifically on housing and other general benefits such as Medicaid, food assistance, and those types of things. We'll be talking about which benefits and resources are available, along with some tools and tips to boost your mental health during stressful times. And then at the end of the webinar, we will have clinicians available to meet with you one-on-one to talk, listen, lend support, and offer even more resources and tools. Before we begin, I want to thank our financial sponsors for this webinar, the Rotary Club of Golden. Thank you so much for your commitment to mental health and to our community. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Angela Resman. Angela is a licensed social worker here at Jefferson Center. And before I hand the mic over to her, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about the presentation. First, this webinar will be available on demand after the live session, and we'll email that out to you along with additional resources, and we'll also have the slide deck available. I would also encourage you to visit our website at jcmh.org, where you'll find more information about how to get it started if you're interested in using our services, as well as blog posts and information about upcoming webinars on additional mental health topics. Please keep your microphones muted and turn off your video during the presentation. You'll also want to change your Zoom view to speaker mode for the best viewing experience. And next, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have a question for Angela, please feel free to send it through the chat at the bottom of your player. We'll be answering questions at the end of the webinar, and if we don't get to your question, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. Finally, we'd like to encourage you to follow us on our social networks and share the recording of this webinar and other information about Jefferson Center. And so without further ado, Angela, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Julie. I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about benefits and housing. Like Julie was saying, it can be really complicated and confusing, so I'm hoping to ease some of that frustration and make it a little more manageable for you. So here's what I'm going to talk about today. First, we'll start with benefits. I'll give you a general overview. We'll talk about what benefits are out there, and then get into a little bit more of how to apply for each of those benefits. Then we'll get into housing. We'll talk about how to search for housing, overcoming some of the barriers that people have to housing, and then some just general housing search tips that have helped people in the past. All right, so getting into benefits. It's really hard to know where to apply, what verifications you need, what you're eligible for. There's a lot of questions around benefits, and it's hard to know where to get the answers to those. So my goal today is to help simplify things and to give you a baseline of knowledge about benefits, so it can kind of help you get started if you're looking to apply for some different things. I'll say it a lot throughout the presentation, but our team, the team that I'm on here at Jefferson Center, is called Central Navigation. And we help people get connected to benefits and resources every day. And so if you have any questions, always please feel free to give us a call, and we're happy to talk through your specific situation and give you more guidance on benefits and the different resources that might be out there. All right, so here is a list of kind of what benefits are out there. This isn't an exhaustive list, so there could be other benefits, but these are kind of the main ones that we have people apply for. I broke it down in different sections here so you can help kind of visualize where you would go to apply for these or to get more information. And so here on the left, it's all the county administered benefits. The first, I'll go through this list here. The first few are all kind of health insurance related. So Medicaid is the low income health insurance. It's for anyone can apply that's under a certain income limit. The child health plan, this is also Medicaid. It has a little bit of a higher eligibility income. And so it's kind of to catch the kids who are 0 to 18 So even if the parents don't qualify for Medicaid, the kids can still qualify for Medicaid. This also works for pregnant moms. They can get on the child health plan just to make sure they have that health insurance to protect those kids. There's Medicare savings programs. And so Medicare isn't administered through the county, but these Medicare savings programs are. There's a few different programs with different eligibility requirements, and they're there to kind of help with premiums and copays. So if you're struggling, if you're on Medicare but struggling with your the extra costs of those premiums and copays, then you could check in and see if there's any Medicare savings programs that would help you. The next one's Medicaid for working adults with disabilities. This is also known as Medicaid buy-in. And it's just like it says, you, depending on your income, you may have to pay a little bit for this benefit. And it's for folks with disabilities that are working at least an hour a month. And so it's to try and catch a wider range. It has a higher income limit than regular Medicaid. But like I said, if you have a higher income, then sometimes you'll have to pay a certain amount in order to get that Medicaid. The next one, HCBS, which stands for Home Community-Based Services. LTC is long-term care, and then home care services. So this is for folks who are kind of at or nearing that nursing home level of care, and it provides Medicaid for those people and help with paying for folks to come into the house to provide services. So for HCBS, that can include a nurse coming in for medication management or light housekeeping, things like that. LTC is for people who are in a nursing home, so it helps pay for those nursing home costs. And then home care services, it's a cash benefit for paying for aides that come into your house, whether it's a friend or family member that is your aide or someone else that can help pay for that. All right, so those kind of cover the health insurance benefits from the county. The next section is kind of cash assistance or more financial assistance. Aid to the needy and disabled, it's called A&D. This is a benefit that helps kind of bridge the gap when people are applying for SSI. And so once you apply for SSI, you can also apply for A&D, and it will kind of, it'll be a monthly benefit you can get until you're approved for SSI. So it's a way to help kind of bridge that gap for folks. Old age pension, this is something you can get when you're over 60. It's a pretty low income for eligibility, but it's another cash benefit that's out there. Colorado Works, this is the temporary aid for needy families. Sometimes the name's a little deceiving, so it's for families with children 18 and under, and it's a way, there's an employment part of it that you need to be looking for and applying for jobs, but it's a cash benefit that families can receive. For this one, there is a lifetime limit, and so you can only get it for 60 months. And whether you're on it for 2 months and then off it again, then on it for 6 months later, they all kind of add up, and in your lifetime you can only use it for 60 months. And then there's food assistance. This one is pretty well understood. It's a financial assistance to pay for food. You get a EBT card, and that's what your benefits go on to. You can use that at the grocery store. And then the last one here on the county side is rent rebate. This is for people with disabilities, and if they're paying their own rent, they can apply for this rebate and get some money back, which is really great. All right, so those are the county ones. So moving over to the right side, talk about some other government benefits. Medicare is a well-known one. A lot of times people get it confused with Medicaid. I talk to a lot of people, they're like, I don't know which one I'm on. They sound so similar. But Medicare is the one for people who are 65 and older, or people that have certain Social Security benefits. So if you're on disability, a lot of times you'll get Medicare, unlike SSDI. And so that's a health insurance. And then unemployment benefits, that's run through the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. If you've lost your job, which unfortunately has been the case for a lot of folks these last few months, you can go there to apply and get assistance, monthly assistance, until you're able to find another job. All right, and then there's the Low Income Energy Assistance Program. This is called LEAP. And it's a benefit out there for helping with heating cost in the winter. So if you're struggling to pay your energy bill in the winter to keep your heat on, then it's a program that'll help with that, which is really great. All right, so then the next section here is Social Security benefits. This one is the main two under here that people apply for, SSI and SSDI. Similar to Medicaid and Medicare, they're easily confused. The best way I've come to explain the difference is SSI is, they're both fixed income, and SSI is if you haven't worked enough hours in your lifetime, so maybe you got a disability when you're younger, and you haven't been able to work to kind of pay into your SSDI, so you can qualify for SSI. On the flip side, so SSDI is if you've had a job in the past, and you've kind of been able to, you've worked a lot of hours in order to kind of pay into SSDI. It's just a little bit higher of an income bracket that you could get into for fixed income. And I'll get into the application process a little bit later. All right, then the last area is agency resources. That's places like the Jefferson Center that have their own either grants or different funding sources that can help pay for things like rental assistance, other types of energy assistance, and then some smaller like one-off type assistance, things like moving costs, things like that that aren't really covered in some of the bigger benefits that the government provides. So we'll get into the application process now. And like I said, at the bottom of the screen, that's our number for central navigation. Please call us with any questions if you want more details on any of these benefits. We have a lot of resource sheets that give a nice breakdown of all the different qualifications and what the different programs kind of entail. So we'd be happy to send those out to you if you have any questions about specific benefits. All right, so for county benefits, how to apply for those. It's really great. Right now, the best way really is through their website. It's the Colorado Peak website, listed right up here at the top. Luckily, it's kind of nice. All of the most of the different benefits all use the same application, except a few of them are exceptions, but it really makes it easy to apply for multiple benefits at once. So a lot of times people are applying for food assistance and Medicaid. You just kind of check the two boxes and then carry on with the application, and it's really slick. So once you go to that website, all you have to do is create an account. If you don't feel comfortable creating an account, you can also apply as a guest, which is the same process. It goes to the same place. We just want to make sure people know after you submit an application, they give you a tracking number. This number is pretty important. It's a good way to check your application status if you haven't heard anything in a while. So really make sure and write that down if you do apply online there. And then, especially if you're applying as a guest, then that tracking number will really help you track your application. All right, another note, if you're applying for food assistance or some of the other benefits like A&D or the old age pension, you'll also need to complete an interview in addition to the application. So right now, these interviews are being done mostly over the phone. And it's hard, a lot of people don't realize that, and they'll apply and then they'll wonder why they never were approved. And sometimes it's because they've missed that interview. And so just be aware that especially if you're applying for food assistance, you'll be needing to do that phone interview in addition to the application. Something that the Jefferson Center has, which is really great, we have someone from the Jefferson County Department of Human Services as our liaison, which is really great. Her name's Jo Beth. She's wonderful. And she can help people do that phone interview. And so you can actually call Central Navigation. If you applied on your own, if you give us that tracking number, we can set you up with a phone interview with that liaison to help kind of smooth the process out. We're just trying to make it as accessible as possible. Since we're not the county, we don't have access to the applications, but she does, and so she's able to kind of help answer some questions and get people connected, which is really nice. Like I said, so again, I told you I'll sound like a broken record, but you can contact navigation, and you can set up an appointment with us, and we can help you apply online. So if you're not as tech savvy or just want to walk it through with someone so you could talk through questions as you're going through the application, definitely feel free to call us and set up an appointment, and we would be more than happy to help you apply. If you're just applying for Medicaid, there's also a phone number you can call. We've heard pretty good things about this. These clients have told us that when you call the number, it actually, it prompts you, you could even put your phone number in and they'll call you back instead of having to sit on hold on the phone for a while. So that's pretty nice. That's another option for you if you don't want to apply online. All right, so these are our two energy assistance benefits. Like I said, LEAP is one that helps with heating costs throughout the winter. So it typically runs November through April. I say typically because of COVID this year, they actually extended it through July. So if you're having trouble with your energy bill right now, you can apply as late as I think today or tomorrow to still try and get that LEAP benefit. But if not, it'll open up again in November when it becomes cold again. So this one actually also goes through the Colorado Peak website. I separated it out because it's run a little bit differently. So you can apply through Peak, but it's run through a different agency. So it's good to kind of understand that separation. You can also call to apply over the phone, or if you prefer paper copies, there's an application online and you could print it, mail it, or email it in. The application's pretty short and straightforward, so it's really easy to do. All right, Energy Outreach Colorado. This is one of my favorite benefits. It's really great. It's Energy Outreach Colorado disperses funding to different agencies throughout the state, and then they can help people apply and give them funding for their energy bill. So some of the eligibility for this, there's an income limit, and then you also have to have a past due energy bill. So on your Excel bill, there's a section that'll say past due. So that kind of helps you cue you in. And again, you can call navigation, and we are one of the agencies that distributes that funding. And so if you give us a call, we can talk through eligibility with you, and then if you're qualified, we can help you apply. Also, if you go to the website there and you can enter, there's a spot where you can enter your zip code, and it'll list all the different agencies that have this EOC funding. So if for some reason the Jefferson Center runs out of funding, you can check that website, and there's other places that also have EOC funding. The EOC funding, you're only eligible for once a grant year. So I think the grant year is starts either September or October. And so you can only apply once throughout the year. I think because of COVID, they actually extended that to twice. So if you have applied already this year, you may be eligible again. So definitely call us to check in about that. All right, Social Security benefits. Applying for SSI and SSDI can be pretty long and intense processes. You can apply online for the initial application, or you can call them, the number here. It can take a minimum of 3 to 5 months to process an application. It goes through a whole long process. And so just be prepared for that when you're getting into that. Again, you can contact us. We have some really good benefit overview sheets that help talk through the process a little bit more and kind of what you need to apply and what to expect throughout that process. So let us know if that's something you're interested in doing. For people 65 or older, or people with certain Social Security benefits. It's important to note, once you turn 65, if you had Medicaid, so the other type of health insurance, it'll end on your 65th when you turn 65. And so that's really important to know. Some people don't realize that, and all of a sudden they don't have health. Make sure and you're aware of that if you are on Medicaid, or if you're on Medicare, then there's a kind of a window of time around your 65th birthday that you can apply. So check out their website for more info. All right, unemployment benefits. This is a big one right now. Like I said, it's run through the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. So we don't have any liaison with them, so we don't know a lot about the ins and outs of this. Our employment team does, but you can file a claim online. You can also file a claim by phone. I know at least in April they were having a big surge of applications, so their site was crashing a lot. So they put these this layout out there for if your last name is A through M, kind of applying on certain days or times, and if your last name starts with an N through Z, applying at these times to try and help the flow of applications on their website. I think they're doing a little better now, but it doesn't hurt to still follow those guidelines. If you're looking for other employment resources like workforce centers or other places that have resources like job readiness programs or helping with resumes, let us know. We've got a list of places that offer those services, and I know a lot of them are doing things over Zoom now, so definitely worth looking at. So someone from the Jefferson County sent me this, which I thought would be helpful to share. They're doing a lot of workshops right now to help people learn more about job searching and get connected. It's neat. These workshops count as valid work search activities. So if you're on unemployment, you need to have a certain number of work search activities, and so this counts towards that. So if you're interested in any of these workshops, they look really great and interesting, and so it'd be good resource to have. All right, so now down to agency resources. So one of the main things some agencies have are rental and security deposit assistance. We get a lot of calls about this. Each agency, depending on their grant, the grant they have for this type of assistance, it can really change what the eligibility requirements are in their application process. And so it's good to check with each of the any place that offers this assistance. Sometimes they have, like I know one of our rental assistance programs doesn't cover Arvada or Lakewood. And so we could, if you're in Wheat Ridge, then you could qualify for the assistance, but there's different requirements like that we kind of have to follow due to the grants. But I listed some of the agencies here that typically have rental assistance. Again, we have a resource sheet on this if you want more of the contact details and things like that. You can let Central Navigation know and we'll send it your way. I will say for rental and security deposits, so if you're looking for rental assistance, a lot of times one of the requirements is having an eviction notice, whether it's a 3-day eviction notice or not. So that's something to be aware of if you're looking for rental assistance, that's a lot of times a requirement to receive that assistance. And then if you're looking for security deposit assistance, a lot of times they'll need that lease to show the place you're renting from. So just kind of smart to gather that information beforehand, so you're prepared when you talk to these agencies. All right, so then other types of funding, so kind of that one-off type funding I was talking about, something we recommend a lot to people if they're calling for a really specific financial need that we don't have any resources for, to contact local churches. They're a great resource. A lot of times they have funding that they can use to help people, and they can be more flexible with it because it may not be part of a grant that has certain requirements. And so it's always good to check there just to see if they have any funding available for kind of those one-off situations. And then another resource I like a lot is the Aunt Bertha website, just auntbertha.com. You can put in your zip code and it lists a whole bunch of different resources. It's really a well-done website. It's easy to search and kind of look through, they try to keep it up to date, but at least it gives you a starting point for understanding if what you're looking for might be out there or what other types of resources could be helpful for you. All right, so that's all the benefits. So now we're going to move on to housing. Housing is really tough. I wish I had a magic wand that made affordable housing for everyone really easy, but there isn't, and it's hard, especially here in Denver where it's a popular place to live and we don't have a lot of affordable options. But there are options out there, and you just have to be patient and kind of know where to look. And so we'll try and help you out here to give you a good head start into looking for housing if you're in that situation. This is how I like to explain it to people. Kind of 3 different categories. If you have a little bit more income, even if it's not a lot, you can search for affordable market rate apartments. So kind of looking in certain neighborhoods or different things like that to find out of those affordable market rate options. If you're more limited income, maybe you're on a fixed income like SSI or SSDI, then your best options are subsidies or vouchers. Subsidies are kind of like discounted rent. So a lot of times it would, depending on your income limit, you'd have to pay like 30% of your income for a subsidy. And then vouchers are similar. I'll talk about vouchers here in a second. But another way to get reduced rent for places. And then if you don't have any income, housing can be very difficult. There's not as many options, but again, vouchers could work for you, or something called the coordinated entry system, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. All right, so when you're searching for housing, if you're in that higher bracket, they're just looking for affordable market rate things. These are some of my favorite places to look. Craigslist is really great for private landlords, which is good if you have a criminal background or something else that you might need to talk to a landlord about more in one-on-one. So private landlords can be good for that. Or if you're looking for a roommate, there's listings for roommates on Craigslist, which can help lower the cost of your housing if that's an option for you. I will say if you're looking for a roommate, make sure and interview each other beforehand and kind of do your own check on their background to make sure you don't get yourself into a tough situation. Colorado Housing Search, so socialserve.com, you can search by county, and that one lists some different senior housing, which is nice. It'll show like different 2-bedroom units. It has some places that have subsidized housing are listed there. So that's another good one that we use. And then PadMapper is my favorite for the visual look of it. And so it's nice because, as you can see there on the screen, there's a toggle and you could put in your rent amount. And so it's really good to know your price range before you start looking to help you kind of narrow in on areas. And so that's why I like PadMapper, because you could put put your range in, and then as you can see on the left there, that's Sloan's Lake in the middle. And then it'll help you realize, okay, like here are certain areas I should look at here, and then you can click on them and call the certain places to find. But it kind of helps you find areas that have more housing in your price range, which I like a lot. All right. So here, the housing search part of the housing vouchers and subsidies. This can get easily confused between each other. So I'll talk about vouchers first. So the housing choice voucher, most people know of this as Section 8. And so each housing authority manages their own voucher program. And so that means their wait lists opened at different times. They keep them open for different lengths of time. They all kind of have their own system for how they manage their wait lists. The cool part about a housing choice voucher is that it stays with the tenant. So if you move, the voucher goes with you. And so this is a really great benefit to have. Why the wait lists are long, because it's a really great voucher if you can get one. And so that means, once you get the voucher, you find a place to live. If you need to move in a couple of years or something changes, then you can move and you still have that voucher, which is really helpful. Site-based subsidized housing. So this is the housing I was talking about, these subsidies where maybe it's 30% of your income, or they can have different types of subsidies that just give you a reduced rate. So these subsidies are apartment-based. And so you would apply for a certain apartment, and then a certain complex that has subsidized housing, and then if you want to move out, or if you have to move out, then you'll lose that subsidy and you'd have to find a different place to help you. And so that's kind of the main difference between the voucher and then different subsidies. The good thing about site-based subsidized housing is there are quite a few out there, and they sometimes have shorter wait lists than the Section 8. And so some of the places, you have to look at the individual apartment complexes that offer these. Some of the places are Metro West Housing Solutions, South Metro Housing Options, Mercy Housing Authority. Again, we at Central Navigation, we have a full list of these with their contact information and kind of a little more info on that. And so feel free to give us a call and we can send that out as well. That has that lists the certain places that we know of that have subsidized housing available. All right. So then the lowest bracket, if you have no income, there is something called the coordinated entry system. It's something that they're kind of working to build out in Colorado to try and help people who are the most vulnerable in our community. And so they use a screening tool called the VI-SPDAT. So it's a Vulnerability Index Service Prioritization Decision Assistance Tool. Mostly goes by VI-SPDAT because it's such a long name. And so this is a screening tool that there's certain access points. So the Jefferson Center is an access point with skilled assessors. So we have some people that are able to do this VI-SPDAT screening with folks. And so it's mostly for people who are really, really vulnerable. So they're homeless or at risk of homelessness, people who are chronically homeless can get on. This is kind of like a giant wait list, and it connects people to housing programs. So right now, a lot of it is connecting to like permanent supportive housing, like I said, for people who are chronically homeless, but just trying to really capture those folks that are really struggling and help them out. It's good to know, so like I said, it's vulnerability based. So even if you apply and say you're 100 on the list, but then the next day someone else applies that has their vulnerability is a little more than yours, then you would get bumped, they would go above you on that list. And so there aren't any guarantees for housing with this list, but it's just they're trying to centralize where people go so they don't get lost in the cracks, and trying to help people who really need it to find housing. So if you feel like you're in that situation, you can definitely give us a call and we can talk about potentially doing the VI-SPDAT screening for you. All right, so overcoming barriers. There can be a lot of barriers to housing. It can be really tough. Landlords have a lot of power on what they can do or not do for folks. These are just some of the different ones that I've seen, whether it be an immigrant status, if you have a lot of children, if maybe a certain neighborhood isn't safe for you. The three big ones, health and disability is tough. Like maybe you need a floor level unit, you can't be in a building that doesn't have an elevator, things like that can really make it hard to find housing sometimes. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about evictions, criminal background, and then if you have a sex offender status, what you can do. So my three hot tips for overcoming barriers are be smart, be honest, and be creative. So what do I mean by be smart? When you're looking to apply to a certain place, especially if it's a larger complex, you definitely want to check and talk with someone to make sure you're not going to be automatically rejected if you pay an application fee. So sometimes there's a $25 application fee, but then if you just get automatically rejected, it's just sad to lose that money. And so if you check beforehand with people, then you'll know you can, try and be smart and save some money. If they're like, oh, like because of our system, you're definitely gonna just get automatically rejected, then you can find another place and not waste your money on those application fees. Being honest, that's a really big one. It's hard to do. Sometimes people are like, well, maybe they won't find out about this or that. But a lot of times apartments do background checks and things like that. And so they will find out most likely what's in your background. And so I always recommend people to tell your landlord the situation up front before they find out on their own. It just gives them more trust in you, and it helps give you a chance to explain your situation before they see it, written out however it is on those background checks. And then when they do see it, they're like, oh yeah, they told me about this, like they're expecting it. So that's just a really good tip, to being honest with them. It really goes a long way and can really build that trust with the landlord, and hopefully it will have them want to rent to you. And my last tips are being creative. This means things like looking for potential roommates, if that's an option for you. Meeting landlords in person. This is hard right now because of COVID. But again, once things open up again, it is helpful to kind of have that face-to-face interaction to make people, trust you or understand your situation more. It's easy to do when you can talk to them. And then seeking out private landlords. Like I said, some of the bigger companies, they just have some really strict rules and they can't budge on them. So even if they wanted to, they really have to stick to their rules. But private landlords have more flexibility, and they can a lot of times be more open to helping someone get a housing. So definitely check those out. And like I said, Craigslist is one place that has a lot of more private landlords, so it's a good place to look. All right, so overcoming barriers. Here's some ideas for people with these types of backgrounds. If you have an eviction, so I know that's something that's happening right now, is they're trying to determine whether they can extend not being able to evict because of COVID, things like that. So if you haven't gotten an eviction yet, but your landlord has maybe mentioned it, or it's something that might be coming down the road for you, I'd really first try and talk to the landlord and resolve the issue before it gets to an eviction. Just try and have an open conversation with them to see if there's any options or any ways, if it's a payment plan or if it's something else to help resolve the issue. That's always a good first step to try and not get an eviction in the first place. But if you do have an eviction on your background, it's not the end of the world. There are options out there. So working with a lawyer can help. Either maybe can work on getting the eviction, like help to not get the eviction or things like that. So it's something to look into. We have some legal resource sheets that we could give you if you're looking for a lawyer for this type of situation. And then when you're applying for, say you already have an eviction in your past and you're applying for a different housing, it's always a good idea to write a letter explaining your situation. Like I said, just that being honest and upfront about things can really help landlords trust you and understand your situation from a different perspective than just seeing that you have an eviction. And especially if the eviction wasn't due to late rent payment, then the landlord might be more willing to rent to you if it's even if you have an eviction. So it's really good things to have those letters of explanation to talk to have a better way to talk to the landlords. So criminal background, similarly, if you can write a letter explaining the situation, that can really help you out a lot. You can also work with a lawyer. There's types, it depends on the type of criminal background you have, but you could try expungement or sealing records to try and get them off your record. It's not possible for every situation, but it is for some, and so it's worth checking out to see if that's would help your situation. And then if you have a sex offense, there's a great website. It's definitely hard to find housing, but there's a really good website that lists different places. I've listed it here. You can search by county in Colorado, and it lists some different places to try. So it's just a good starting point to see kind of where you might be able to find some housing that could work with, even if you have a sex offense. All right, so here's some more housing search tips. Similar to when you're applying for benefits, when you're looking for housing, it's really good to kind of gather these things that I have listed here before you get into it. And so that way, if you did apply for a wait list and your name comes up, you're ready to go, because a lot of times they'll ask for this documentation and they'll only give you a certain window of time that you can have to gather it. And so that can be a barrier for people sometimes. And so when you're looking for housing, I always recommend gathering these documents as soon as you can and keeping them, so that once a housing opportunity comes up, you can really jump on it and get on there. Like I said, having those letters of explanation. Also, if you have a previous landlord that really liked you or that you guys had a good relationship, it's great to get a letter of recommendation from them. That also helps future landlords, if they know that you had a really good living situation before, it helps them trust that you'll be a good tenant for them. All right, some more tips. Really get your name on every wait list possible. Sometimes it can be daunting and it feels like, why would I put my name on a list if they're saying it's not going to be a year or two until my name would get called? The thing is, you never know where you'll be in a year or two. And so you might as well put your name on the list, because maybe a year from now, you still need housing, and it'd be really great that your name got pulled. It's also just good. Sometimes wait lists go longer, could go faster than you think. So just apply for all the wait lists that you know of. Similarly, apply for all Section 8 waitlist openings. We try and keep track. Like I said, the waitlists open at different times. And so at Central Navigation, we try and keep an ear out for those, so we know when certain waitlists are open, so we can tell people to apply. So always feel free to check in with us to see if there's one open. Right now, there actually is a current waitlist opening. It's for the Foothills Regional Housing, formerly Jefferson County Housing Authority. They have a waitlist opening right now, and you can apply online. So check out their website or give us a call, and we'll help you navigate that. But again, when one opens up, apply for it, because it can't hurt. It's also good to check back regularly with landlords on wait lists you're already on, just to let them know that you're still looking and that you're still interested. It's really helpful to have that interaction, so they know you're not just a name on the list, and you're ready if your name gets pulled for that wait list. Another good thing to do is, when you're searching for housing, you really want to document everything. So all the phone calls you make, who you talk to. If you do get the resource sheets from us that list the different subsidized housing or things like that, I always recommend people take really good notes on there. So if you talk to someone and they say, oh, like our wait list isn't open now, but in a month we're thinking it's going to open, you could write that down so you know to call back again in a month. Or if they say, oh, we won't have an opening for a really long time, you could just X them off, just so you don't waste your time calling places multiple times. It can kind of keep you organized with that. On another note, so it's really important, if you are on all these wait lists, if your phone number changes or your mailing address changes, you really want to update that with them. And so if you keep a good list of all the wait lists you're on, and you get a new phone number, you'll know exactly who to call to let them know that your phone number has changed. It's really sad when you're going down a wait list, calling people for housing, and the number's out of service now, or you just can't find them. And so you don't want that to be the case for you. So really try and, if you get a new phone number, especially your mailing address, to let those different authorities know, so that they can contact you if and when your name comes up on that wait list. Then the last tip would be, set a goal for applications to complete each day or week. It can be really overwhelming. It could be really frustrating. So if you kind of have a goal, then once you reach that goal, you can kind of take a deep breath, or it just kind of helps keep you motivated and kind of chugging along when it can feel really like a big daunting task. All right. So with all that information, it's really good to remember our mental health, and to keep up practices that keep you sane and keep you calm when you're trying to navigate all these benefits, because it can be really frustrating and hard. So some ideas, really practice self-care and patience. It's really hard waiting for callbacks or things like that. And so finding things you can do that keep you happy, whether it's going for a walk outside, or just taking a quick nap, anything like that, eating a piece of candy, all things you can do to try and keep your self-care while you're kind of going through these processes. On a similar note, it's always good to take breaks and take breaths. So if you're getting really frustrated, just take a few deep breaths to try and center yourself, and remember that this is hard and that you're doing a good job. You could take breaks, similarly like going on a walk, or just putting the phone down for a little bit, just to kind of give yourself a break from making phone calls and trying to sort things out. Another good tip for mental health is reaching out for resources and support. I'll say it again, you can call navigation, even if you just want to vent, even if you just want to say, this is hard and I don't understand my benefits, I don't know what's going on. And even if there isn't a specific question we can answer, we can definitely support you in that venting and understanding the frustration, because a lot of people experience it, and it's really hard. So reach out to us, reach out to family and friends for support, and just to have that connection. And like I said, similarly for the resources, when you do call Center Navigate, if you call Center Navigation, we also could know of another place that's open, or we might have some ideas for different places you could look, whether it's for benefits or housing. So definitely reach out for that support. And finally, don't be hard on yourself. Benefits and housing are complicated and hard, daunting. It can be a lot. And so understanding that it's not you. Sometimes it's the systems we're working in. And so, yeah, just, take those breaths, take those breaks, and realize that you're doing the best you can. And hopefully with time, things will kind of work out and become more understandable, and you'll get those benefits in that housing. Let's see. All right, so that's everything I've got. Are there any questions?
Angela, thank you so much. We did have one question. It's kind of related to housing and benefits, but somebody was wondering, are there any with everybody at home? They've talked to some people who have been having technology issues, so they don't have access to they don't have access to a computer, or they don't have access to the internet. Are there any benefits available that address technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is hard, finding internet. I know some of the libraries have been trying to find ways to because a lot of people would go to the library to get the internet. They're trying to find ways that you could still access the internet from outside of library locations. Again, if you're looking for certain benefits, that might be something that, like I said, like calling churches or things like that, if you need a computer or need something like that. There are some places that have, that I've heard of, that have computers. Actually, there's a resource that's coming to mind. And so you can let us know if you're having those troubles. That's also why our team is there. So we try and, because a lot of people can still access a phone. And so giving us a call, and we can either help you apply, whether it's those county benefits, we can help people apply online if you have internet or access issues. Some of the other benefits that we can't help you apply for, but hopefully we can point you in the right direction. I know a lot of places do have, are trying to have more call-in services if you're unable to apply online. So let us know the specifics of your situation, and we can see if there's a resource out there that could help you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I also want to add, I do know that several of the internet providers around here, like CenturyLink and Comcast, they actually do have specific programs that you can apply to get cheaper internet access and get that internet access. So actually reaching out to the providers themselves is another option as well. And I'm sure that's something that, again, if you contact us, that we can help with that. So I just want to mention again, if you want to talk to a clinician pretty much right now after this webinar privately, please message us and let us know, and we will get you connected with somebody right after this. Angela, I think that's the only question we had, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. So I just want to say that no matter what you're facing in life, if you're feeling overwhelmed, worried, or stressed, Jefferson Center is here for you, and we are open, accepting new clients, and accessing care is easier than ever with virtual appointments. So you can visit our website at jcmh.org or follow us on Facebook for more resources and information. And you can also reach us by calling us at 303-425-0300. Thank you all, and have a great day.